Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna 435 chainsaw. Customer complaint is that it just doesn't want to start easy, if he can get it started at all. So we're looking in the fuel tank, and it looks like he's got good fuel in there, and the fuel filter's still connected, and we didn't see a puddle of water in the bottom of the tank or anything like that. So we'll kind of rule out fuel issues for now. I mean, I could have pressure tested the fuel line, but sometimes you just got to start digging in and seeing what there is to see. In this case, we have a loose spark plug. That's not good. Now, that's not necessarily keeping the saw from starting, but it might not run decent. We're going to look inside the cylinder. Now, notice when I pulled the cord that the chain turned. No matter what I find in here, I'm sure the reason it starts hard is because he's trying to spin the chain over while he's pulling the cord. So you'll see that I'm blowing air into the exhaust, right into the muffler, positioning the piston in a spot where the air is going to flow out the spark plug hole. And now I'm running a thread chaser on those spark plug threads. And the reason I'm blowing the air in like that is that any chips or debris coming off that thread chaser are now just blowing out into the shop rather than settling down on top of the piston. And you can see after I looked in there that I didn't have to go back and clean anything up. So now the big test, does the spark plug crank down tight? Yeah, we got some tightness on there. So I feel pretty good about that part of the repair. Let's take a look at this air filter. It's not clean, but it's not packed full either. So we're just going to blow that out. Don't get carried away when you're blowing out air filters. And when you do like these nylon mesh, take a light and check and make sure you didn't blow a hole through the dang filter. We're going to put that right back on. And then we're going to try and start this thing up. I still haven't noticed that that chain was turning, remember. But I notice now. It just isn't going to want to start very easy at all. You know, anytime you got a string trimmer that the head turns while you're pulling, or concrete saw where the blade turns while you're pulling, that stuff's going to be hard to start. It's kind of a big part of the whole reason we have a clutch, right? Here's our clutch cover. Here's our county line bar and chain. I think this might be from Tractor Supply, I'm not sure. Let's clean up some of this mess I got going on here. You can see that the drum and the clutch were spinning together there. We got the special handy dandy official Husqvarna clutch removal tool. Look at that, she's removed. Our drum spins nice, so our bearing isn't the problem. But this worm gear, this thing's kind of seized on the crankshaft. So when you're pulling the cord, if that worm is seized on the crank, it's mated to the clutch drum. And it's turning the clutch drum, which in turn is turning the chain. So what we're going to have to do is either replace the worm or clean it up enough so that it spins freely on the end of the crankshaft. Just cleaning some dirt off of the bar stud there. Got our handy dandy tube of grease out. We're going to put a little bit of grease on the crankshaft. And in this case, we're going to put a new worm gear on. And you'll see that this new, look how that just slides on there. That's the way it's supposed to be. Now when you pull the rope, that worm isn't going to spin. What are we looking for? Oh, we're going to clean some schmutz out of the clutch drum. You know, if you got enough of a buildup here, that could also do the same thing. Concrete saws, you know, when you got a lot of concrete powder built up in the clutch, you can get that same kind of dragging where you pull the cord and the disc would turn on the concrete saw. So now we've greased our needle bearing, putting the clutch drum on. Took a look at the clutch, felt alright with it. We're spinning that on. We're just going to pull the starter rope out a little bit before we bang this down. And then pop our tool off of here. And now we're feeling really good about this repair, right? Look at that, it spins nice and free. Doesn't drag. Right. I forgot a screw. So that screw holds that chain guide plate in place. And you can't access it without removing the clutch. So there we go. Screws back on. Now, that isn't really that big a deal if you got all the right tools and whatever. It took a minute. But if you got to do the whole rope in the cylinder kind of thing, that would have been a pain in the butt. So let's mount up our bar and chain and see what kind of results we get. Check this out though. Did you hear that noise? Did you feel the way that chain was running over the drive sprocket? There was clearly an issue. So let's see if he's got the right chain on there. This saw is supposed to have a 325 chain on it. And he went and purchased himself a 3/8 bar and chain. He must have done it fairly recently because the chain's not damaged. The sprocket isn't damaged. So what the heck? We got no oil coming out. We got another problem here or what? Maybe I didn't run it long enough. There, we got oil. So we know why he had starting problems. Now we're going to have to fix his bar and chain problem, which is easy to fix. You just put the right bar and chain on it, right? So this was a proper 325 bar and chain for this saw. And we're just using the gauge to confirm this here. 325 on the new one. And 325 doesn't line up on the old one. You know, we see it all the time. Customers walk in the door and they think they just need to know that it's a Husqvarna and it's an 18-inch. Well, you need to know a little bit more than that. I mean, even on the same model, you could have different size bar and chain. So that's all I'm going to have for you on the Husqvarna 435 that just wouldn't want to start very decent. Thanks for watching. Later.